Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs, and this is the Pixel Katana with Infinity Blade. I just finished it up for Adrian, and I'm very happy with how it came out. It is the first Katana saber I've ever built, and it is the first Infinity Blade I've ever done, and I will explain what that is in a moment. But generally speaking, the difference between this and other sabers is that this is running, instead of on electronics, this is actually running on the Force. No electronics inside this guy. Pure Force/magic power here. And as a result, the blade on this guy runs the entire length of the hilt through the emitter and all the way up to the tip of the blade when it extends, and then retracts all the way back to the bottom again. It's a very unique and very fun design, something that kind of arose throughout the build process. I'm excited to show you guys, and Adrian, I hope you like it. It's all aluminum with some brass up top here, and it's got a nice wrap. It's not eel skin, which is one thing that I would do differently about it. Adrian, you should definitely look into replacing the wrap with an eel skin wrap sooner than later, just because this one is going to get beat up quickly. It's, I think, probably just cotton, and it's going to absorb dirt and stuff like that, and it'll get discolored and mangy looking pretty quickly. So if and when it does, get an eel skin wrap for it. If you want to send it back, I can rewrap the eel skin on here for you. But that's the traditional material that's used for katanas, and eel skin and ray skin, and it lasts forever. Basically, it's a really terrific grip as far as actually gripping it goes. It won't get discolored. Just food for thought. But for now, we've got a nice blue cotton grip wrap on here. He wanted me to do a nice long NeoPixel blade, a removable chassis, and some accent lighting that shines through. So I initially decided I wanted to do cutouts in the hilt, wherever the grip had diamond shaped holes. So I started with that. I did the cutouts on my mill, and I did this side up here, and then I did one side, and then on the opposite side I didn't do the cutout because I wanted to leave the little brass emblem showing. I did the same on the top on the flip side, so that both sides had some accent lighting. And then once I turned it on and saw how it all looked, I realized that there was once I turned it on and saw how good it looked, I realized there was an opportunity to do something a little better with it. And I came up with the idea of an Infinity Blade. And the idea is the blade for this lightsaber runs the whole length of the hilt, from the very bottom all the way at the top and all the way through the tip of the blade. And so that's what this does. So let me show you guys how that works. So to begin with, unscrew the pommel down here if you want to. Access to USB, SD card, and main power switch down here. But you don't actually have to take the pommel off to do that. So, without the actual blade inserted, pretty nifty, right? Blade retention up top here. Yeah, like that. So blade plug, very long, illuminated NeoPixel inside blade plug. But again, ignore all that because there are no electronics in the saber. It's all running on the Force. 1-inch blade, which I usually am not big on, but because It's a katana, and because of the need to get it to balance, so this guy is almost a perfect 50-50 balance right at the center. And that's because of this CoverTech knob down here. If you remove that, it is a perfect 50-50 balance. But that's the first reason why I opted to go with the 1-inch blade. The second reason is because you want it to look as much like a katana as you can, and katanas have, you know, 1.5-inch thick blades. And also for practical reasons, if you're going to use this for practice, Adrian, if you're planning to use this as a bokken and, you know, hone your katana skills, this is a good length, it's a good weight, and would actually be pretty good using this as a practice sword. Now, two buttons, auxiliary on the top, power on the bottom, starts all the way down here, runs all the way to the tip, retracts all the way back to the base. So for the blade array, for the first blade, we've got a bright green Return of the Jedi style and that's using the Rescue sound font. I think that's K-Sith, from sampled from The Mandalorian Season 2. Love the Infinity Blade. So cool the way it retracts all the way to the bottom. All the blades, sound fonts, and colors are custom requests that Adrian specifically made. The second blade up is Cyan. The sound font is the Prodigal Butcher. Nice delayed ignition. Third one up, we've got New Type, which is a Gundam sound font. Fourth one up is Vision, and it is sampled from the Star Wars anime series with the Ronin Samurai. It's a bright yellow blade, which is done with yellow-white audio flicker. Super cool. Really slow retraction on that one. And that was Volatile sound font. This is Kyber Weapon. That's a pulsing rainbow blade. see that again. That's intense. This is Cyberpunk 2047. One more time. I love that ignition sound. This is a white blade Final Fantasy sound font. Next one is Staple Sword. Oh, one back. And this is a turbine blade done in yellow. The turbine blade is particularly excellent with the Infinity Blade, because the turbine effect runs the entire length of the saber and the hilt. It's just nuts the way that works. This one is the Light V2. Color wheel, of course. And then finally we've got Kaseth's Crossguard V2. Full-length Fireblade. That is just spectacular. Katana saber with full-length Fireblade. Both sides, too. There are force quotes for most every blade, and what I tried to do was use Japanese quotes from the Vision Star Wars anime series. Pretty sure that means I need to go get some BK. That means check out my Infinity Blade. Now, as far as how the magic works, the quick disassemble, fully modular, loosen set screw, remove blade, and then buttons. Very simple button system here. You just grab, pop off. They are just standard oversized momentary button caps with the aluminum button plungers that go in this katana mounted to the top, and they simply snap onto these oversized momentary switches that are mounted inside. So put them on like that, pop them on, super easy. They come off super easy. But they don't go flying off, they're not gonna fall off. They do clip on. And then to get the chassis out, the best way to do it is just put the blade plug in and push on it, and that forces the chassis to come out the bottom. Simple as that. Chassis is removable 18650 battery. We've got a keep power protected button cell top, positive on the top. Profi board hanging out down the bottom, all ghosted without wires, because like I said, this is all running on magic. 28mm premium speaker here. I just had to slightly widen this chassis and trim the sides, the plastic bumpers off the sides of that speaker in order to fit it. This chassis is actually intended to get a 25mm speaker, but why go 25mm when you can fit 28? It's going to sound better, and there's just no reason not to get a bigger speaker in there if you can, and it fits just fine. The switches are here, mounted to the inside of the chassis. Top, we've got pogo pin style stock custom works blade connector, custom diffusing screen, and the magic panel right here. I won't explain that, but that's the trick. Definitely the magic panel. And that's about it, actually. It's a very simple chassis. It's a Goth 3 Designs chassis. I don't remember what saber it's actually intended to be for, but as far as measurements and everything went, this was the best I could find of an existing chassis to fit the Katana. Its width for the internal dimensions, the length, where things are situated, everything just lined up perfectly for, you know, where the buttons are, where the cutouts are, where the pommel goes, where, you know, everything that needs to happen in order to make this saber work. This chassis just lined up perfectly for it. And the only modification I had to make was to trim down this very top section, well, almost top section here. About 1.5 inches of it, I just had to basically sand it down, grind it down, and then repaint it. And then I cut off maybe 1 inch of the top of this chassis. It used to go up to about here. So I just cut it off and mounted this blade connector housing and blade connector to the top. Use some single stage epoxy to do that, and that dries like plastic but stronger. It's firmly affixed, it won't break off, it's essentially part of the chassis now. The same for the switches. They're also epoxy mounted, so as long as you don't take this and throw it across the room. But as I said, modular, easy to remove, easy to swap the battery out. As I said, also no wires. Totally running on magic. And to reinsert, it's just obviously the opposite arrangement. Line up where your buttons are with the holes. Slide it up until you can see them and until they are centered. Looks good to me. And then pop your button caps on. If they don't pop on, then you don't have it aligned. Simple as that. If they do pop on, then they are aligned. And then you can screw the pommel back on. The pommel acts as a backstop. I machined out this section of the pommel, Adrian, so that it meets exactly where the chassis ends and needs to end and needs to sit in the hilt. So you can't push it too far and make the buttons pop off, or, you know, stress anything using the blade. Because obviously you're going to push the blade in nice and tight, so you need to be sure that putting the blade in nice and tight isn't going to crush or mangle or get the chassis out of shape. So that pommel acts as a backstop, and that also allows you to access the electronics, which don't exist, through the bottom of the pommel without actually having to unscrew it. It's a very durable, very functional Very fun saber. It's pretty sweet too without the blade, because the Minfinity blade is almost as cool looking, even though it doesn't come out. Like, you could put this thing on mute and then just hang it on your belt and walk around with that like that, and it would be as good as a flashlight. Turn some heads. I'm sure people would ask you about it. Good shine through on the top here on the blade plug. Love the fire blade. The Minfinity fire blade is fantastic. And then the last thing to mention is, you'll notice if you look from the sides, the buttons are at slightly different heights here. I did that for the sake of feel control, so you can tell what button's what. It makes it much easier to discern which button is which just by feel without looking at it. Having the buttons be low profile is nice because they don't get in the way, but you can also, you'll know which one is which by the button height. So Adrian, that is your custom Infinity Blade Katana. I hope you like it. Let me know. And if there's anything you want me to add or subtract or change, let me know. I hope you like the overall finished concept design and the outcome of it. I know I do. I'm really happy with it. Thank you guys, as always, for watching.